Your drive just froze my entire computer. In our environment too.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry about that. We are live right now. I'm happy to welcome here Adrian from EthBlock.art, who's going to be giving us a bit of a workshop to me and Lori, who's working with me at the MakerSpace at ETHDenver as a steward. Welcome, Lori. So Lori and Adrian, I'm going to ask you to leave the gamer jibe because I think we may be hearing what's going on there. So we don't want that at the moment. But just know, for those of us, of you who are looking at us right now, we're being streamed in the MakerSpace inside the virtual castle at ETHDenver, but we're also streaming outside on YouTube, and we're streaming on Periscope and Twitch. So we're being seen from different angles here. So you know, this is about this virtual space. We're gonna get inside the virtual space. Myself, Adrian, and Lori are also gonna be at the virtual space, so you can see the art portrayed, and you can engage with us in this virtual space as well. So with that being said, I'm gonna give the floor to Adrian, who's gonna be telling us a little bit about his project and telling us more about the dynamics of this interaction and how we're gonna make some really cool art together.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Jessica. I did just leave Gamer Jibe. I think the soundtrack was playing through the mic, but I will join right after we chat a little bit. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here talking a little bit about EthBlock.art, and I guess the underlying concept about blockchain art, which is what we're kind of calling what creators produce in this platform. So I can give a very quick, like a bird's eye introduction to the idea, and then we can maybe take it for a spin.
Let's do it.
Cool, awesome. Then we can do some questions afterwards, of course. So yeah, what you see here is the landing page of EthBlock.art. It's a project that got launched last month, so it's a pretty recent development. The idea here is that you create your own deterministic art, painting blockchain data, and you mint NFTs as a result of doing that. As you can see here, it's been pretty active. There's been quite a few creators already, and there are a number of styles from creative coders using blockchain data to generate creative demos. So I'll dive a little bit into that, and then we can go step by step. So the first bit, like talking a little bit about blockchain art, and I hope that this becomes clearer in the end. It's a little bit about self-reflective art. So talking about looking at the blockchain data and then putting these acts of self-expression back on inside the blockchain. This page is not loading. That's a bit annoying. But essentially, it's a project that started in 2019. And it was just about creating these visualizations using blockchain data. It's a shame this tab is not working. Oops, oops.
I can share my screen too if you want.
Oh, we can get to that afterwards, for sure. And it's very much inspired by the idea of Etherscan, for example. Everybody who's familiar with Ethereum, we use Etherscan quite a bit. We dive into blocks, so we look into specific transactions to understand what's going on in the network. And of course, like other examples like Nansen is pretty popular to basically generate insights from what's happening on chain. So when the first version of EthBlock.art came around, it was heavily inspired by this paper done by the Department of Decentralization, talking about there's no such thing as blockchain art. There was also like a reaction to a lot of the conversations around the time. There's talking about what is blockchain art, what is crypto art, is it art put on the blockchain, or is it art made from the blockchain? That's definitely like a link that others should check out. So the conversation is a little bit about us stop making these analogies about blockchain art, or basically trying to understand what crypto art is, and kind of look back around the first principles of what we're building around Web3. One sec. And one thing that we can learn from DeFi, for example, is this idea of composability. So everything that we're building, Ethereum is like an open API, right? So it's basically like a world machine that we all get to look at together. We all get to store our data together, and we all get to manipulate together. So that's kind of the idea of blockchain art. Blockchain data is basically the interaction of a bunch of humans and smart contracts and bots, and we create a lot of data activity. And now we use this data to actually generate acts of self-expression. And it's kind of made by this combination of three key elements, like the coder, the data that's on the blockchain, and of course the participant as a creator. So that kind of like fast forwards us back to where we were in the beginning, where we look at the current version of EthBlock.art, basically. So basically, before we talked about the data and everything is hosted on the blockchain. So the next step is looking at how do you convert that data into something that is visually pleasing. And that's kind of where the creative coders come in, producing these basically demos, creative coding demos, which the creator on the other side gets to interact with. As you can see here, producing the basically their own NFTs. So these are all acts of self-expression from individual participants in the platform. And given the whole element of composability, these are all also available in all open marketplaces out there. So you can create your own blockchain art, and you can go to OpenSea and sell it to collectors, for example. One interesting thing about looking at this at the open marketplace is the fact that these NFTs are all actually data references. So you can go to this page on OpenSea and you can look at all the BlockArt NFTs created, and you can basically filter by which block on Ethereum are you most interested in. Are you looking at block 1, for example? Well, there are quite a few creations from block 1. There we go. If you want to now create something from block 1, let's say this is a very popular block, that's the genesis of the whole network, you can basically see the same creation inside EthBlock.art, and you can try to create a similar one from the same block using the same style. But as you can see, generating any additional art pieces from this block costs a good amount of ETH today. And that is because a number of others have previously already created from this one block. So this is the idea of the floor price of the block data as your fair canvas to paint on top of. So for each block, it has an initial price, and for each creation from the block, the price basically only goes up. So another thing to look at is the fact that the price that you're paying goes both to the artist and to the platform. So if you look at any random block by pressing the little feeling lucky button, you can see that by using this block, I'll be paying 0.01 to the protocol, and I'll be paying 0.03 directly to the stall creator, in this case, the creative coder. These funds doesn't even go through the protocol, only the artist is allowed to withdraw it. Also from the block fee, there is at least 30% of all the revenue collected by the protocol goes back to creators, those that mint BlockArt NFTs. On top of that, a lot of the experience today, beyond, of course, folks having fun, creating NFTs, creating blockchain art, is also onboarding more artists and creative coders. So these are the folks who learn more in depth about how the block data works. So for example, when we talk about what is a blockchain block on Ethereum specifically, you have this large object of data that every 15 to 45 seconds gets added to the Ethereum network. And it contains a whole range of information, such as like a unique hash identifying the block, to an array of transactions, actual interactions between participant A to participant B. These can be humans or these can be machine. So the task of the creative coder is to analyze this data and basically produce this template using basically React.js, 3JS, Reactor Fiber, or P5, and produce something that is interactive, so the other creators can play with, and is capable of producing these images that we can turn into NFTs. So you can see, for example, as well, that we're looking into building the same experience within the platform. So you can produce the code, you can submit your code, and you can have your template used by the creators to produce their own art using the same data that we use to analyze transactions. Sorry. So here, for example, I'm currently looking at block 2. Oh, it doesn't have anything because it doesn't have any transactions yet. So I believe if I go to block 1000, it doesn't have. Anyway, basically, you get to modify the code in front of you and see what's happening. These block styles, which are made by the artists, they can also be embedded in third-party sites. So basically, any artist who produces a block style, they have a dedicated URL, which they can put in an iframe and put it in their site, which is basically a blockchain explorer embedded inside your own site. So these, for example, are 2 styles made by Art Plus Brad. He has embedded both styles in his site. So these styles are now dynamic, and they're updating as new blocks are mined on the blockchain. So from here, for example, we have this really quick shortcut. Let's say I really, really like this block, and I really like this block in the style made by this artist. So I'm going to take a snapshot of it. And that's exactly what I do with the little camera icon. You are thrown directly inside the app, looking at that block with that style selected. And you get to, from here, apply the tweaks that you want. So for example, I like this, but I like it a little bit in a different color. This is actually going to take a little while to do manually. It will take a while. But this is also just the start. So we're working on a few other styles, which each new style that comes in brings like a whole new range of capabilities and a lot of creativity, right? So every new artist that joins the community, they come from different places and different cultures, they have different ideas. So it really feels like every additional artist just opens the horizon of creativity that we have within the platform. And this one, as you can see, right, it did just change the block. It's an animated style. So this is the same as what you see on this page, except this is the dedicated canvas experience. And the artist in this case has opted to have this an animated view. So you can imagine this is a perfect presentation from like a digital canvas where you just have something on your wall and just continuously looking at the blockchain and painting the blockchain just how the artist envisioned it. And of course, the same way, me as a creator, I can dive inside this block. And I can change a few things about it because maybe I like it in a different color. If my computer is not cooperating with the recording and everything. Long story short, this is like a very quick introduction to what EthBlock.art is. And as mentioned, we just came out a few weeks ago, so we are onboarding more developers. We've got a hackathon going on this week for coders who wants to learn more about how to make these kind of styles. The hackathon is specific around the Maker protocol data, since it's done in a partnership with the Maker Foundation. So it's a great opportunity to, first of all, create something cool looking using blockchain data. And we're here to help. Just ask what blocks you want and we will provide them. And two, to learn a little bit more about a protocol at the scale of the Maker protocol, which has dozens of different smart contracts interacting with each other, creating this really complex system. So this is a great experiment to learn more about blockchain while learning more about creative coding as well. So we're pretty excited to talk to developers about that. And yeah, I think that kind of like sums up like a very quick introduction. And maybe we can, I don't know, I'd love to see how maybe you two want to try it out and we can do something with it.
Thank you, Adrian. This is all super interesting. I think with Lori, we would love to try it out and see how we can interact on our own.
Cool.
Lori, do you have any questions? Do you want to start from maybe just going back to opening the website? For those of you who are inside the Gamer Jive, which I see there's a good amount of people there, there are on the walls 2 beautiful images that you see created using this. You can click on those images and that's going to take you straight to this website. So for those of you who want to follow along with us, please do so. All right, so I guess we'll follow your lead right here.
Should I stop sharing or how do you want to do this?
Maybe Lori, do you want to share yours and see how it works?
Yeah, definitely. So I can share my screen. Share screen.
I do have a question regarding, you say an introduction to blockchain art. And I think this can be a little bit misleading for some people who are new to crypto art and they think that blockchain art is just an image that they tokenized on a platform, Maybe, do you want to talk a little bit about that distinction? Crypto art, blockchain art, where are the boundaries between these different forms of interacting with art and blockchain?
Yeah, totally. I think that's a great question. I think the space have been discussing this for a few years now.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the misnomer here is the difference between putting art on the blockchain versus a very simplistic of the idea of blockchain art.
Exactly.
So what we're doing is we have images or we create images using tools like Blender, for example. It's quite popular today. And we tokenize those images, not just images, but animations, video, 3D models. So I think that's an important distinction to be made, right? Like to mint an NFT doesn't mean you're creating blockchain art. It means you're basically using the blockchain to sell your art, which is a totally fair application, right?
Yes, yeah, that's definitely important to talk about because there's been blockchain art before there are any NFT platforms even. And yeah, people are kind of confused about that. Thanks for clarifying. All right, so we're seeing Lori's screen. For creators, Adrian, like Lori, people who are totally new to this, maybe people who are still learning about blockchain, how do you see this tool serving the purpose of educating people on what blockchain is? I think that you have a great tool here to make blockchain a little bit more accessible, the technical aspects of it from a visual perspective. And I think that there's a lot of value in that. So if you were to explain, Lori, how this interface can educate you on blockchain, how would you do that?
Totally. So the styles you see here, they fall within a spectrum of more abstract generative art and others which are more...
We're still on our live stream. I invite you to check the lower left button where it says live stream. Take a look at the really fun stuff that is happening with EthBlock.art. I want to talk to you more, but I'm on the other side of the stream, so meet me there.
All right. Sorry about it.
Sorry, I didn't mute myself.
No, it's cool. It's cool. Basically, yeah, some styles, they're more like abstract, so that purely generative art, and they use mostly like a unique hash within the block. So those are more creative, they're more inspirational. Other styles, they are more leaning towards data visualization, right? So maybe, would you like to change style briefly? I think another one. If you do the under pressure, I think it's a great example for us to use. Yeah, that style is made by the artist Superman, who also made the space flower that we were looking earlier. What I find cool about the style is that it shows you at a very quick glance the impact that gas has in transactions. So if you are to, for example, there are some like left and right arrows on the top left of the screen, and it allows you to basically change through the blocks. And you can see, especially these days, I think yeah, it's better if you go to the left side. I gotta fix some of these bugs. You can see, especially these days, gas has been pretty intense, right? So this style, the artist decided to, hey, let's map like the gas amount of these transactions to these bubbles. But basically, you can see the style is under pressure based on the gas costs today. So that's basically like one little invitation for folks to learn more about blockchain.
Yes.
I have a question, actually. So then if I was, for example, taking this piece and then I wanted to change it and then put it on my wallet, then how much would I have to change it in order for it to be like specifically owned by me, or like just in terms of kind of like creative ownership? Like, would it be that if someone were to buy it, it would be like the money would be paid to the first artist and then the second one and then the third one, and it just goes down like that?
Right. So once you mint that NFT, it's yours. So it belongs to you. You can sell it. We today do not charge any secondary sales royalties. That might change in the future, but not in a drastic way. So the idea is, you as a creator, that is your creation. You get to do with it what you wish. You want to gift it to a friend, do you want to sell it, or you want to trade it? Yeah, we do plan in the future to have functionalities within the app that other creators get to use your creation to make their own creations, and that way paying you also a fee. So that's kind of like how we're planning on building this whole circular motion around it. But long story short, yeah, you tweak it. It's unique because it's yours. You pay the price. Somebody else can try to make something very similar to what you made, but they will pay a higher price by default. So it's your creation with the price that you paid, with the inputs that you gave.
Okay, cool.
What about new blocks being created? Are they being updated live constantly?
Yeah, that's correct. So basically, this is like a live feed of the Ethereum blockchain.
Yes.
As you can see on the top, it's now paused because
Right.
you have like a block selected. If you were to unpause, then yeah, the screen will basically update every few seconds.
Cool. And for artists and sort of creative coders, let's say, who are interested in creating a set of deterministic rules for this, and they want to submit design to the platform, how would they do that?
Yeah. So basically, the best thing to do is to just join the Discord and jump through some of the GitHub templates that we have for the creative coders. While one thing that we are exploring more and more is just combining a coder with a digital artist. So it's also, this is a great platform for folks to get a little bit more familiar with coding as well, since if you look at creative coding, it's a bit of a lower barrier of entry compared to something like Solidity development, right? So instead of trying to invite artists to like, hey, learn Solidity, create your own NFTs or do something like that, like, no, just learn creative coding, create like a P5 demo or a 3JS demo, look at the block data a little bit, like play around with that idea. Yeah, and that way we're kind of like getting their feet wet a little bit with software development, because Web3 is, I guess, easier than most folks think it is, right?
Yeah. I think it's great that you're here, because I'm sure the hackathon right now, ETHDenver has a lot of programmers who are looking for, collaborators or projects where they can sort of integrate with to put together something else for a bounty inside the hackathon. So maybe we have maybe some minutes to talk about that, on how these hackers can reach out to you, or how can they use EthBlock.art to sort of integrate with whatever they're doing. To what capacity is the project flexible to those integrations with people who want to play around, and let's say not just minting an NFT in the website, but in a sort of deeper sort of structural level, or
Yeah, no, totally. So first of all, it's worth mentioning again, we do have a bounty going on. If folks want to play around creating one of these templates, there is a channel on the Discord, hashtag Maker Foundation, because we're talking about specifically the Maker Protocol data. Additionally, yeah, anyone is welcome to join the Discord. Like, there are some good discussions around some of these features. There are a number of integrations happening with the token contracts themselves. So basically, I talked earlier about composability being like a huge principle, and maybe I didn't really dive too much into that. Composability within the DeFi space is what we tend to call money Legos. It's a really popular and powerful idea that, in my opinion, brought DeFi to the scale that it is today. We don't really have that concept in crypto art or in the NFT space, right? I mean, we're jokingly starting to talk about art Legos, right? So I think that is like a really powerful idea that we should dive more into this year. So instead of trying to build our own standards that kind of ends up creating closed markets, to just explore this idea of composability, interoperability, and try to build this in a more participatory way. So yeah, basically, long story short, it's a very basic collection of ERC 721 contracts that can be explored in many, many different ways. And if you're not that deep into Solidity, you can also just dive into the front-end layer and just do cool stuff using blockchain data.
That's great. Is there anything you would like to add before we leave the stream? Adrian is going to be at the Gamer Jive Castle, and he's going to be answering questions. I'm going to send you a link to a recorded session here in case you want to refer to it back again. But is there anything that you would like to add to this segment?
Not right now, just a major thank you for having me, and really, like, I love the MakerSpace.
Awesome. So as I was saying, let's make.
Totally.
Making. Let's give Maker a little shout out here, supporting this talk. Thank you, Adrian, so much. Thank you so much, Lori, for joining us. And I'll see you at the castle. I'm not going to broadcast the castle here today because I want to prevent any of those weird bugs and feedback loops. But I'll meet you all at the castle. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
See you at
you.
the castle. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. See ya.